There you go, look, this is an ashtray.
Hey team, it's Henry from Crafting Good Health. Today we're in Taradale and we're going to do some pottery with Ian at OXART.
Set it up to be a gallery and a workshop space, so we can run bespoke kind of workshops depending on what people want. We've got some weekly classes, longer style workshops, sort of like a master class, kids classes as well, so trying to cater for the local community.
What's the difference between teaching kids classes versus adults?
Essentially nothing. Essentially it's exactly the same. And that's one of my philosophies, is that kids are just little humans.
Yeah. And
so I quite like treating them as human beings. I just love the joy of making. That's really what really informs everything that I do, is enjoying making whatever it is, and then trying to translate that to whoever is in front of me. Someone asked me, is there any kind of competition between the potters? And it's surprisingly uncompetitive. I think it's something about being a potter, is it's one, it's quite solitary most of the time, sitting at the wheel and making and making and making, and two, it's just the joy of being with other people who are so creative and so invested in their work and just so intrigued by the process. So we've got a pottery wheel, electric pottery wheel. I think the newest one that I have is probably from about 1975. They will never break down, and if they do, they've got very simple basic parts. The other sort of things that you really need, a bowl of water, sponges, they're very important. These little wooden things, they're called a rib. They used to be made out of cow ribs. We use them for shaping and cutting and all sorts. And we've got just a wire to cut the clay, to cut it off the wheel. Just a little pointer or a little to pop air bubbles mostly. And lid calipers, so if you're making lids for things, you can measure up the diameter on one end and it gives you that on the other. Arrowhead tool, so that's just for cutting away. And there are, of course, a lot more tools you can use, but these are the real basics. And then, of course, we've got clay. You must have clay if you're making something out of clay. A simple thing is a coffee mug.
Great,
So we just throw it into the centre. The key is to be nice and steady and solid with your hands. And what we're trying to do is just make all the particles of clay spin into a circle. And we do a couple of little squeezing moves. So you want it to be really perfectly centred, otherwise your hands get knocked around. That's nice and centred now.
How do you know if it's centred?
You know. You can easily centre the outside particles just by holding your hands, but then when you put your finger into it, it feels quite lumpy and not quite right. So that's why I did this one where I lifted it up and pushed it back down, so that gets all of the particles turning into that nice tight circle. Then we're going to just go down into the centre with our thumb.
Is there something about, or do you find some kind of mindfulness in this part of it?
100%.
Yeah.
I get very lost even still, and if I'm making something as simple as a coffee mug, I get very lost in the process of just making, you know, and I might have 100 to make, but it's just that repetition, and I think of just being there in it and doing it. That's what it is. There's no other, like there's other thoughts of course, but it's so making sure that they're the same, making sure that the clay is doing what you want it to do, making sure that you're, you know, not killing yourself physically by, you know, hunching too much, or, you know, thinking about your body and what it's doing and all of those kind of things. So what we're doing here is we're just pushing out that belly for a nice coffee mug, taking off the little piece at the bottom that's a bit scratchy, that noise. So that's basically a coffee mug. What I'll do is I'll use this one so that you can see that, how that, so you must get the water out of the bottom, or else it will crack. The water makes the particles of clay spread too far and it cracks. So this is a very special tool, this one.
Yeah. Hard to find that one.
That's it. You can't buy them in the store. Wait. It's good. So there you go.
Wow. I'm definitely going to drop it.
It doesn't even matter.
This feels like I'm pretending I made it.
That's great.
Do you like? I made this one, isn't it? Yeah.
Also, I don't think there's, I say to a lot of people, do you make, they'll ask me, do you make such and such? And I'll go, well, if it's made out of clay, I'll actually have a go at making it, because I just love creating things. And I often find, people come to me with really interesting ideas that I've never even thought of. And so then sometimes they become part of what I then do, because they're a really cool thing to make. So I had a lady a few years ago now. She wanted OXART, which are a big terracotta. It's like a vase form, but about 30 centimetres high. And you bury them in the ground in your vegetable patch, fill them with water, and they leach the water into the soil so that you get a constant wetness. And they come from, I don't know, South America or something like that. So, and since then I've made a lot of them for various people. So, things like that are really cool, because I've never heard of them before, and I go, I don't know. Wool bowls for knitters, never knew that they were a thing. And now they're one of my biggest sellers. So you just put the ball of yarn in it, then they put it beside them on the floor. The cat can't play with the yarn, the dog doesn't eat it. So I make a lot of those. So I'll make a bowl now, just to show you the process of a bowl. So that one was more upright. So this one now we start bringing it straight out. So rather than straight up, we start going into the shape of the bowl that we want. So you need to be a little bit more careful with these, see how it distorts. So because they're so much wider, you need to be a bit more careful.
Yeah, right.
So when we make a lid, we just need to leave a bit of clay at the top, so that we can make what's called a gallery. That's what potters call it. I don't know if anyone else does, but so with the lid, we just probably don't even need that much. This is what I do find challenging, is small stuff, because I've got big hands.
Aside from pottery, is there any daily practices that you have to do each day?
Feed the chickens.
Feed the chickens.
One of the things I probably should do a lot more of is exercise off the wheel, because it's quite limiting. At the end of last year, I was quite, debilitated with my hip hurting, and that's definitely one thing that I need to make time for this year, and probably to be more mindful of my own body and saying, I need to slow down and do some other things, do some exercise. So there's the lid.
Beautiful.
And now it's your go.
Great.
To throw, the key is to get the centre of gravity quite close. And to use your body weight, because a lot of people just try to use their arms, and you can't hold them sort of strong enough at the start. And getting the feel of the wheel and how it works. So when you start, just need to pat your ball of clay nice and round. Need to throw it into the centre and just do exactly what I showed you before.
Oh, okay. Is that all?
Yeah, it's very simple. That's it.
Start it spinning straight away?
Start it spinning with your hands off, and then put your hands on as it's spinning. Hold them really firm and go faster.
Oops.
Lots of oopsing. More water. Keep the water up to it. It's really important, especially when you're learning. So now you got to try and squeeze from the bottom without ripping the top of it off. That's the number one thing. So now what you can try is to, with your left hand around the clay. And then with your finger over the top. Just get your hands on either side like that, and just sort of squeeze it up so that the walls come sort of straight up in your hands. What I tell people is this is the next hardest bit, is to actually pull that wall up higher. So with your thumb and your finger, so on this hand, just like that, and then you're going to try and just pull it straight up, and then your fingers on the inside are just going to be pushing equally against it. So it's like this. Pull. But gently.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'm going to say that that's as good as that one's going to get. So that one would just get cut off and you put it in the bucket down the bottom.
Yeah.
And we start
Bit
again.
of sadness, yeah.
Yeah, well, there is another name that I'm not going to repeat here. Right. And repeat all the steps that I said before.
Yeah.
But do it properly this time. With your thumbs over the top, and that's the pressure there. You're not trying to make a hole in it yet, you're just trying to push it straight down so it sticks to the wheel. Now what you need to do is you need to squeeze it up. And when we're squeezing it, basically what I say is you're just using these as a lever and it's just squeezing like that so that it comes straight up. So you're using the back of your hand. Two fingers on the inside, on your left hand, and this one is exactly in the same spot on the outside, and it's just gentle pressure. Slow down a bit, the wheel speed now. We now slow down. As the pot gets bigger, you slow down. Now you got a pot.
Wow.
Yep. So if you just use that to just cut away down the bottom there, gently, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that is sort of where we leave it, and we cut our losses at the moment.
Okay.
And we go, that's Henry's pot.
Yeah.
Put your thumbs down on the wire and then pull it through. Now there is an Instagram photo worthy.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You didn't know it was going to be that physical, did you?
No, yeah. Do people very often try to recreate the scenes from Ghost?
I had some older ladies come to do a pottery class one day.
Yeah.
And one of them said to the other one, "Oh, it's time that we did the ghost thing." And I say to everyone, look, it costs a lot more if you're going to get me to take my shirt off to do the ghost thing. She said, no. My husband died last month or 2 months ago, and I want to contact him.
Wow.
I lost
Via pottery.
Yeah, I kind of lost it then.
This is what happens when you go to prison and they're processing you. They
Yeah,
make you finish.